We have a special guest who's been on our show before. He is so wonderful. We're so happy to have him on. Terrence Zimwawa from Zimbabwe, and he's a writer for Bitcoin, and he always has some cool stuff to say. And he's going to be with us right now. I'm going to pop him right in. Here he is. Terrence, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi, welcome. It's good to be back. Uh, I just
Hey,
hope I mean, the show has been great since my last time I was here.
oh, you look wonderful, like you had a little vacation or something.
No vacation for me. It's always work, work, work.
Work, work, work. That's the way it is nowadays. So give us the latest. I was on the Bitcoin website, and they're predicting possible turmoil and in the financial markets coming up. And what do you know about that? I mean, there's some predictions. Do you see? Is it going to get bad, or what's your take?
Well, I think maybe the primary concern, I think, is what the U.S. government is doing. The printing of money, and recently, I think the rates, treasury rates, I think they went there to their highest in 15 years. So there are concerns there. So the predictions may be more or less like things are not going to be okay on the traditional uh, financial market side of things. But you should have heard Vanek, one of these asset management companies, they're predicting uh, another good year for Bitcoin. I'm sure you've been following. Bitcoin recently hit 44,000, which was the first time in almost 2 years that it has happened. So there are many predictions, and many believe that by the end of 2024, Bitcoin will go beyond its all-time high of, I think, 69,000 or something like that.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah, exactly. And all these government markets, and the trending technology, and so it's always good to it's a safe bet to be in the kind of crypto world, at least temporarily until who knows, maybe they crack down on the servers or whatever. But right now, I mean, what's your take on how, I don't know if you've been following, but just in the politics, like there's the US government is getting trying to get into crypto, right? They have their own coin and whatnot. But at the same time, in Congress, they're talking about, oh, this is a dangerous thing, and so these are the people who are saying this is a good thing. Invest. We have our own coin, but then the same people are saying, what's your take on that? Is that just a bunch of mumbo jumbo?
Yeah, it's interesting that you actually asked that question because yesterday I wrote an article based on U.S. Senator from Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren. She basically wrote an article attacking one of these blockchain lobby or blockchain associations. Essentially, she was complaining that uh, they are able to enlist the services of former security officials like Mike Esper. I think that was one of the guys that was mentioned. So her problem with that is that when she attacks crypto, or when she says crypto has been used to finance terrorist organizations, you know, those big guys wrote a letter, I think, to Capitol Hill, essentially, trying to downplay most of Warren's claims. So she's not happy because of that. And guess what? She's got support from, I think I counted about almost 10 organizations that are supporting a bill. She's also getting bipartisan support. But she still is not happy that these one or two organizations are, countering her moves. But getting to the real gist of the question is, it is amazing that on one hand they want to create, or they propose something which they say gives people the same kind of advantages or the same freedoms that people can get from, say, Bitcoin. But at the same time, they're trying to muzzle, you know, to, you know, sort of to kill this innovation. So it doesn't work like that. You know, Bitcoin popular or is where it is today because obviously it works. Now, I think anyone who's wise would not kill competition, but at least they will try to learn from that, create something which is better. I think the market is ready for that. If they can create something which beats Bitcoin, because like for instance, Bitcoin is suffering from high fees of late. So if they can create something which is as good as Bitcoin, but gets better than Bitcoin by having lower fees, much faster, not clogging the network, then I suppose people will jump onto that. But as long as it's like it's all talk, like we're going to create this, but before you even create that, you want to kill something which is actually working. It's not going to work. In any case, it's very difficult to shut down the Bitcoin network because it's not concentrated on one place. There are Bitcoin miners all over the world. So if you freeze them out in the US, they will simply move to another jurisdiction which allows them to continue. And that is essentially what has been happening. I think 2 years ago, the Chinese government tried that. But guess what? A lot of the miners that were operating in China, they moved out. So now suddenly China is not the biggest mining center for Bitcoin. It's gone elsewhere, and I'm sure the United States is one of the biggest beneficiaries of what the Chinese did. So you cannot shut down Bitcoin. Essentially, you cannot shut down an innovation which works. If Bitcoin wasn't working, it should have died 10 years ago, but it's still around because it's serving a purpose. Uh, People in these parts of the world, we see it work. I'm banned, or people from Zimbabwe, for instance, are not allowed to access the US markets sometimes. I don't know how it works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But you are not going to do business with a financial system that you are not so sure of. That next time when you try to use it, you are blocked because I come from Zimbabwe, or I come from a country which is sanctioned. But if I'm going to use Bitcoin or even stable coins, for instance, there are no sanctions and they actually work. Uh, you can move funds easily without all these hassles. So uh, I mean, I'm so far away from the capital here, but I can tell you this: people use these technologies because they work. So unless the U.S. government, whoever is against Bitcoin, can come up with something which works, then I'm sure most people will embrace that. But as long as if it's
Right.
token, it's not going to change anything.
For me, the talk is just, they're afraid. They're afraid of it because it's their financial system has been going on for, like literally thousands of years. And then even when the country formed, they've created a monopoly on how everything works. And then they created a system that they can manipulate, right? They can manipulate it, right? They'll do this and do that. And, flood the market with money, print more money, take it out. They can do all kinds of stuff. Start a recession, get rid of recession. Have a bunch of fake news. But this innovation, the decentralized monetary kind of idea with Bitcoin or whatever kind of crypto is a threat to them, and you can see it, right? Like on one end they were like, oh, let's try to shut this down, then they're like, oh, I could see that this is unstoppable, so we better get in on it before it's too late.
Exactly.
Right.
I think they have actually got to that stage where they see, no, we cannot just wish away this because uh, this technology is actually serving a purpose. But I also want to point this out, which is something which is weird for us who are outside the United States. The United States is essentially where it is today because it embraces new things. It embraces the latest technology. It doesn't matter if it threatens, the old guys. The United States embraces technology, and that's why it still is the leading, country in terms of adopting new technologies. But for some reason, everywhere else, the United States has embraced new technologies except one, and that's finance. which is weird. You know, the United States is supposed to be leading everywhere, including traditional finance. But because the guys in finance, they feel threatened, just like the guys in IT were threatened a few years ago. But look what happened. You know, AT&T used to. I know you guys used to use landlines to make phone calls, and when the internet came, you know, these guys thought this thing is going to push us out of business. But guess what? You're using the same networks for internet. So it is that if they embrace it, you never know how it's going to even benefit some of these big guys, some of these central banks. It's a question of overcoming fear. Once we overcome fear, uh, we can always learn new things. And I shouldn't be telling this to the US government. The US government knows this better than anyone. If you embrace change, you always benefit. So usually the one who embraces technology first is the one that benefits most. So this is the plea to the US government. I don't know why they keep on choosing this approach, but it has failed, not only once, but for the past 10 years. So I think at this point, they should, if they are happy to create their own technology or something that works, they should just put it on the table, then allow people to choose. And if it works, they'll succeed, just like they've succeeded all these years.
Right, right, exactly. Embrace the, and that's what's so great about just technology in general. It's like you could come up with something, and then the big guys, the old guys who don't know much, they try to buy it all up. And but the technology is there, and the innovation is still there, and somebody else is, you're still going to be able to come up with something newer, better, to advance, to that's what it's all about decentralization with crypto, and that's what I love about it is this idea. That's why they're so threatened, because they want centralization of everything, servers. Amazon take, oh yeah, okay, we're going to buy all the servers now, you guys. So they're centralizing the internet, but then now guys are coming up with other, there's holochain, which I had last week. We talked about holochain, and that's like decentralizing apps and websites. And so there's that going on. And then there's the Bitcoin and blockchain. And there's so much out there. And even, in a year or two, or even now, there's probably guys working on the next best thing. So yeah, it's exciting what's going on. Anything else in your any new articles? I know you mentioned, I wasn't sure what homomorphic encryption. What is homomorphic encryption? You wrote an article about that.
Well, it's an encryption which some people feel is better than zero knowledge proofs. It's still new, and and a lot of my readers are still getting to grips with what this whole thing is all about. Uh, but what I can say, I think from the interview you can see that it actually, if you embrace both solutions, those privacy solutions, they make you know your solution, your ultimate product, much better. So it's one to look out for in the coming new year.
Okay, cool. Any other new technologies out there?
Well, there's always plenty. I'm sure I'll be writing more. I mean, I'm getting people, asking me to interview them. So as we go, I'm sure. But I think getting into the new year, the big things, or in the coming few years, the big things to look out for is what they call real assets. I mean, real world assets tokenization. That's the thing, and there's potential. I mean, there's talk that this could potentially be $1 trillion industry.
Is that
Then
is
also,
that is that NFTs?
no, real
Does
world
that include
tokens.
NFTs?
That includes NFTs, obviously. Uh, then smart contracts, zero knowledge proofs. Those are the technology to look out for. I think, at least from where I'm sitting, this is what I'm seeing. It's getting more and more, and there's always better new solutions each time.
This is the part of the Web 3.0, right?
everything Web3, uh, it works. And I'm also happy that, Africa, or where I am, like in Zimbabwe, we're always the last to get some of these things. But because, Web3, there are no boundaries. Uh, the usual boundaries that stop people, it allows some of our communities here to be part of the new change. So we actually have Web3 companies that are actually starting up from Africa, serving the world, which doesn't usually happen, but because it is Web3, it's possible. So it's one of the exciting things. So in the coming year, I think not only 2024, but I mean even going forward, these are some of the stories that I'll be writing and I'll be focusing on. So obviously, whenever
Wow.
you want to hear what's happening, what's latest, I think as we go in the coming year, I think I should be able to share some of those.
We'll definitely be watching out. I noticed Africa, just my experience. I'm kind of relatively new to trying to get out there and connect with people, but I would say at least in the past like 5 years, I know Africa is like really, uh, there's a lot of developers coming out of Africa that are really exceptional, and new companies and a lot of innovation just on that part of that particular continent, as opposed to other ones. I see Africa, and then there's some good ones. There's some guys in America, but Africa and India seems to be like the two countries that are kind of like pushing it, right?
Yeah, sure. Africa, I mean, for years, we could not be, we have to be, innovation takers. You know, the world never allowed guys from this part of the world, to be part of, you know, those who are leading the new technology or the new innovations. But Web3 is in a way leveled the playing field. Uh, it's just a question of me, studying, understanding the technology, understanding how to code it, and getting an idea which actually works. And sometimes we've got ideas that work because a lot of what we use is not working. It's outdated. So if I can, for instance, create a platform that allows people to do KYC, or that allows companies to verify people's, whether you call it IDs, educational documents, using new technologies. There is actually a need for that. So when you create something which solves that problem, it works. And it works here. It doesn't matter. It's not going to be. I mean, it doesn't. You don't necessarily have to sell it to someone in the US, because there's no need for that. You've got systems that already work. Ours don't work. So but when you create something like that for a particular community, say in Zimbabwe, your product is going to be embraced. And I know one guy who's actually trying to do that, because we've had problems where people fake documents, like a fake driver's license, a fake educational document, you know. And usually, because everything is done manually, there is no way of verifying. So someone can actually get employed using those fake documents, you know. But because of this platform that I know the guy who's trying to do that. Uh, your company, before they employ someone, if they say they've got this certificate, it will be verified, like immediately before an employment offer is made. This is fast.
Right,
It takes about 3 minutes. Everything's done. We verify. Yeah, exactly who you say you are. But if there is a
right,
problem, the system actually tells you, well, I mean, in time, so that you don't waste time with imposters. So this is
right,
what this is what Web3 is doing to us. It,
right.
this,
And
this,
I think it says, sorry, I think it says a lot too, right? Because in America, we have everything. We kind of get used to having comfortable, right? But when you're hungry, that is when all the really great innovative stuff happens. And that's why I think, right, when you're hungry, when you don't have it, when you don't have all, but when you have it, then you're complacent and you're not so creative, right? That's even that's the best movies came out. I actually went to film school. I went to San Francisco State and I got my bachelor's degree in cinema, and we studied cinema. And all the best movies came out of the restrictions where they couldn't do this and they couldn't do that, and yeah, blah blah blah. And they figured out how to get around it, and it actually created this more creative movement in cinema. And nowadays, like cinema's not as good because they have everything. But when you're hungry, like in Africa, where they're deprived of this or that, and the government is not hip to let different things come out, then the people come out, and that's what's so great. Like you're saying, that Web3, these guys are coming out with all this like really good stuff, and I see that the future is probably Africa and these places, and hopefully it won't get too complacent.
Oh, well, we only get people get complacent because we get comfortable, but there's no time for us to be comfortable here because things are just always, on the edge. Things are always difficult, so always have to find a new solution. You have to fight every day. So because you are in that mode of always fighting, there's no time for you to be complacent. There are plenty of problems here, and I'm seeing in particular Web3, the blockchain, smart contracts. It seems like they can get over some of these problems. Maybe the other challenge, or the biggest challenge so far, is those in power need to be educated. You know, we can. Do you know we can actually solve this problem by using this software? Because they are scared or maybe they have questions. So the thing is, you have to educate them, and once they embrace, once they understand, it's very easy for even for them to say, okay, we're going to use this. Your solution, say we are using it for this government department and things like that. So this is maybe our biggest problem. But in terms of doing, there are no restrictions because the older guys or those who in power, they don't even know what is happening.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much, Terrence, for coming on with us. I really appreciate you taking out your time. I know you're super busy over there, and I look forward to reading more of your articles on Bitcoin, the website. So hopefully you can join us again, and share with us all your insightful information.
Yeah, sure. Always a pleasure to share what I know. I know I don't come from a particularly advanced part of the web, but at least what I can share what we are experiencing and why some of us think this technology is actually the right uh, technology for us to
Yeah,
go forward.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's you're such a wonderful guy. I just love to have you on to talk with you and stuff. All right. So we'll catch up with you next time. Ladies and gentlemen, the Big Nano Tech Show, and Terrence, thank you so much for coming on. We'll catch up with you later.
Yeah, cheers. Bye, guys.